Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling something really fundamental, aging. Now, I think for many of us, the word aging brings up, well, certain images, right? Decline, maybe physical limits, feeling less relevant. Society talks about it that way a lot. But what if? What if there's another side to it, something surprisingly positive?
That's exactly it. That's what we're digging into today. There's some really compelling research suggesting that actually aging can often bring more happiness.
Which sounds, well, paradoxical, doesn't it?
It really does, especially when you think about the genuine concerns people have, health, money, social status, all that stuff. But the evidence keeps pointing towards this trend,
Mm.
a real uptick in emotional well-being later in life. And it's important because it challenges that whole negative narrative we usually hear. It hints at this potential most of us miss.
It really is a huge shift in thinking,
Yeah.
and we're living in a time of just unprecedented longevity. It's hard to grasp sometimes.
Absolutely. I mean, think about it, the increase in average life expectancy just in the 20th century. It absolutely blows away all the millennia of human history that came before it.
Wow.
So this long life we talk about now,
Yeah.
it's basically brand new territory for humans.
Right. So if you listening feel a bit uncertain about aging, well, join the club. We're all kind of navigating this new reality together.
And you see it in the population structure too, that old pyramid shape. Lots of young people at the bottom, few old people at the top.
Yeah.
It's changing,
Mm.
becoming more like a rectangle in developed countries. For really the first time ever, most babies born actually have a decent shot at growing old.
That's a monumental shift.
It really is. And it forces us to ask, okay, what does this actually mean for us as individuals and, for society?
Exactly. So that's our mission for this deep dive. Let's really look at this unexpected upside. Let's explore the evidence that older people are often happier. We want to figure out why that might be, and crucially, what it could mean for you no matter how old you are right now.
Okay, so let's start with this idea researchers call the paradox of aging.
Yeah, the paradox. It's fascinating because it highlights this contradiction, right? Aging brings real challenges, no doubt about it. Loss, physical changes. But study after study shows older adults, on average, report being more content, happier than younger or middle-aged people.
And this isn't just anecdotes.
No, this is based on large data sets. For example, the CDC, Centers for Disease Control, they did this big survey. They asked people about significant psychological distress in the past week. And guess what? Fewer older adults reported it compared to the younger group.
Fewer. That definitely goes against the grain.
Right. And there's a recent Gallup poll, too, showing similar things. Feelings like stress, worry, even anger,
Hmm?
they tend to decrease as people get older. Okay, so the data seems pretty consistent. But researchers must have tried to poke holes in this, right? What about other explanations?
Oh, absolutely. They've looked hard at it. One idea was maybe it's just the generation that's old now. The greatest generation. Maybe they were just built differently, more resilient.
Like maybe younger generations won't experience this.
Exactly. But longitudinal studies, the ones that follow the same people over many, many years, they show something different. They show individuals tend to become happier as they themselves age.
Ah, okay. So it's not just a specific generation. It seems linked to the aging process itself.
It appears so.
What about the idea that maybe older people are just, putting a brave face on things, trying to be positive despite difficulties?
That's another fair question people raise. And yeah, maybe there's a little of that sometimes. But the consistency across different studies, different measures, it suggests something deeper is going on than just positive spin. And what's really interesting is that this isn't tied to cognitive decline. In fact, some studies show the sharpest older adults, mentally speaking, show this positivity effect the most strongly.
So it's not about being less aware of the negatives.
Doesn't seem to be, no.
Okay, so they report more happiness overall, but it's probably not like they're just walking around blissed out all the time, is it?
No, not at all. And this is where it gets more nuanced and I think really insightful. The emotional landscape isn't just happier, it's often more complex. Research suggests older adults are actually more likely to experience mixed emotions like feeling happiness and sadness at the same time.
Interesting. Like bittersweet feelings.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
And they also tend to have a greater acceptance of sadness. They see it
Yeah.
more as just a part of life, not something to be fought off constantly.
That feels different, more mature maybe. Not about chasing away bad feelings, but integrating them.
That's a good way to put it. And this ability, this acceptance, might be linked to why older adults are often better at resolving conflicts, especially emotional ones. They can look at injustice, for example, maybe with more compassion, more perspective, rather than just pure despair or anger. It's a more balanced emotional response.
Okay, that makes sense. And you mentioned something earlier called the positivity effect. Can you unpack that a bit more?
Sure. The positivity effect is this tendency observed in older adults where their attention and their memory seem to lean towards positive information. They sort of filter the world a bit differently.
How does that show up in research?
Well, a classic example is showing people images, some positive, some negative, some neutral. Later, you test their recall. Younger adults tend to remember a mix, but older adults, they consistently recall more of the positive images compared to the negative ones.
So their brain is kind of highlighting the good stuff.
In a way, yes, or at least paying less attention to or dwelling less on the negative. It happens with social cues, too. Show them pictures of faces smiling, frowning, neutral. Older adults' eyes tend to gravitate towards the smiling faces and away from the frowning ones.
Huh. So they're actively steering towards positivity.
It seems like an unconscious bias, but yes, the effect is a focus on the positive. And you can imagine how this plays out daily. It likely leads to more enjoyment, more satisfaction in everyday interactions and experiences. Even if you're younger, just knowing this tendency exists can maybe help you think about your own focus.
It really does sound like a kind of strategic shift in how they engage. And you said this links strongly to how we perceive time.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
This is a key piece of the puzzle, we think. It seems these emotional changes are really tied to our uniquely human ability to monitor our own lifespan, to understand that time is finite.
Our internal clock, sort of, knowing where we are in life.
Precisely. When we're young, life feels expansive, right? Endless possibilities ahead. So our goals are often about preparation, gathering information, taking risks, exploring, meeting everyone.
Right, and during that boring networking event because it might pay off someday.
Exactly. Or slogging through a class you don't love because it's required for the future.
Yeah.
We tolerate a lot of unpleasantness for future gain. But as we get older, our perception of time naturally starts to narrow. The finish line feels, well, closer.
Yeah.
And that shifts priorities. We become less interested in just exploring for exploration's sake or accumulating knowledge for the future. Instead, the focus often shifts to the present, to savoring life, appreciating what we have, deepening important relationships, maybe reconciliation.
Investing time where it feels emotionally meaningful right now.
That's it. We start putting our energy into the people and activities that bring genuine emotional satisfaction today. That obligatory social event you mentioned, it loses its appeal when compared to, say, spending quiet time with a grandchild or pursuing a passion.
So recognizing life isn't infinite actually helps us focus on what makes us happy day to day.
That seems to be a major driver, yes. That shift in time perspective leads directly to prioritizing things that boost immediate well-being. And interestingly, that perspective can also sometimes lead to less tolerance for injustice, a feeling like we don't have time to waste on things that aren't right.
This is such a different way to think about getting older. It's much more active, more intentional than the usual narrative. And it makes you think about the bigger picture, society-wise.
Yeah.
You mentioned that demographic shift, more people over 60 than under 15 projected around 2015 in the US. That's huge.
It is huge, and it's happening in many developed countries. We're going to have societies with a much larger proportion of older people than ever before. But as the research points out, what that means isn't just about the numbers, it's profoundly about culture.
How we view older people, how we integrate them.
Exactly. Do we see them as just a burden, a problem to be managed? Or do we see the potential, think about it, potentially millions of people who are experienced generally more emotionally stable, often healthier and better educated than older generations in the past?
They have decades of lived experience, problem solving.
Right. Accumulated knowledge, skills, and this unique perspective we've been talking about, prioritizing connection, purpose. Their calmer approach could be invaluable in tackling complex problems, in mentoring.
It really flips the script from just thinking about caring for the elderly.
It does. There was a quote mentioned in the source material from a 92-year-old person.
Yeah.
That really struck me. It was something like, let's stop talking only about how to save the old folks
Okay.
and start talking about how to get them to save us all.
Wow. That's powerful.
Isn't it? It completely reframes the conversation. It suggests older adults aren't just dependents, but a massive, untapped resource, assets.
It moves way beyond just the challenges to seeing the opportunities, the contributions.
Yes. So wrapping up this part of our dive, the big takeaway is, yes, aging has challenges, nobody denies that, but the evidence strongly suggests it can also be a period of surprising emotional richness and well-being. This paradox of aging, driven by things like shifting time, perspective, and that positivity effect.
Hmm.
It offers a radically different lens on later life.
And that's such a valuable insight, really, for anyone listening, whatever your age, thinking about this. How might it change your perspective right now? Are you focusing your energy on what truly matters to you emotionally? Are you taking time to savor the good stuff in the present? Even if you're young, knowing this is a potential trajectory might shift how you build your life now for fulfillment later.
It leaves us with this thought, doesn't it? Maybe a truly good life isn't just about making it longer, but about appreciating the changing emotional landscape as it unfolds, about valuing the wisdom time brings, understanding aging not just as decline, but as this potential source of well-being and societal contribution. That understanding has pretty profound implications for each of us and for all of